Jai Hind Defense Aspirants. I'm back again with you to help you realize your dream of joining the Indian Armed Forces as officers. In today's session, we're going to discuss about the questions which are going to be asked to you in an SSB interview. But let me first explain to you the basis on which these questions are asked. These questions are based on something called a behavior consistency principle, which is defined as the best predictor of your future performance or behavior is your past behavior or performance in similar circumstances, which means whatever you've done in your past life, you're most likely to behave or work in the same fashion in future as well. That is why an interviewing officer will ask you first about your life history, which would include your childhood, your education, about your teachers, about your family, about your friends, about how you spend your day, what kind of challenges that you faced, what failures you've had, what efforts have you made in life. So with this, an interviewing officer is able to construct some kind of a profile which is consistent with your personality, which you presented in the past, and what you're projecting to him during the interview. So now let me start with the questions which are going to be asked. The three sets of comprehensive introductory questions are also called CIQs. These three questions are asked to, which are common with everybody. Everybody will be going to be asked the same question. But the difference comes up in the probing. That is, after each CIQ, based on whatever response you've made, the interviewing officer will probe you and try to find more about whatever you responded. So these CIQs are of three types. The first one is on education. The second one is on family. And the third CIQ, or the comprehensive introductory question, is about your spare time activities and interests. So the first CIQ, which is about education, will be asked about your performance in various examinations after class 8 or after class 10 up to your present level, the percentage of marks that you've scored, the various subjects that you've chosen, your future career options, your participation in various extra and co-curricular activities, including games and sports, any special achievements out there. You will also be asked about your favorite teacher and the teachers who did not impress you much. You'll be asked about your friends, about your close friends, and why do you consider them close. And finally, you'll be asked to add if you face any difficulty in your education with respect to any financial difficulties, etc. After you finish with responding on CIQ 1, there'll be some probing questions, which would be something like more details about your education, as to say if there is some inconsistency in your percentages, you may be asked to respond to that, or why you chose a particular subject or a set of subjects. You will be asked about which arm of service would you like to join, and maybe more details about why do you like to join a particular arm of service, and maybe more details about that. Similarly, whatever games or sports you've talked about in your CIQ 1, you'll be asked to give more details about that. Say if you're a basketball player, then you may be asked to tell about who are your favorite players nationally and internationally, or maybe what are the size of the basketball court, or maybe what are the rules and regulations of basketball. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you have to have thorough knowledge of whatever you respond in your CIQs. And accordingly, more details about your friends, your relationship with them may be asked. And finally, maybe a couple of questions on general awareness or some practical situation based on whatever subject you've studied. If you're a science student, you may be asked anything, say, for example, why does a ship float on water, and why not a needle? Why does a needle get dropped in the water and doesn't float? So these kind of things you may be asked. So these are very, very basic things, but if you can apply your knowledge, then you'll be able to tackle them. The second CIQ, of course, is about your family. wherein you'll be asked to tell about your parents, your other family members like your brothers, sisters, grandparents, their occupation, education, etc. Then you'll be asked to tell about the routine in the family, and especially where your role comes in the family affairs. You will be asked to tell about who is the closest family member whom you confide in or you approach for help. And if you have any friends in the neighborhood, then how you spend your time together with them and what kind of activities. And finally, there may be a question on your pocket money and how do you spend it. And after you responded to this CIQ 2 of yours with respect to your family, there may be some follow-up questions which may be with respect to more details about your family members. How is your relationship between all your members of the family, like a sibling or with your parents? Who is the closest to you, and what kind of problems do you discuss with them? And if you've been participating in family activities, then maybe some more details about activities may be asked. For example, if you mention that you've been helping your mother in preparing a morning breakfast, in that case, you may be asked to explain as to what are the ingredients that you use for the breakfast, or what are the say process of preparing the breakfast, or any such thing. So whatever you say, again, you have to get into the details and know everything about whatever you're talking of. And once you're finished with your CIQ 2, is the CIQ 3, that is about your spare time activities and interests. So here basically you are asked about your hobbies, your reading habits, how do you utilize your internet services, how do you utilize your TV, and finally what's your routine on a working day and on a holiday. And once you covered this, of course, there are again some follow-up questions of the same thing to include maybe something more about your hobbies. For example, if you've mentioned that your hobby is, say, stamp collection, then you will be asked some more questions to check your depth of knowledge about stamp collection. And similarly about your reading habits, if you've mentioned about a couple of books that you've read, then you are expected to know about the details of the book, about the author, and some more details which you may be asked. So you should be prepared for all that. And when you are talking about the daily routine, it should match with whatever you've spoken about, whatever you've been doing in life in your earlier CIQs. So here, actually, by the time you reach your CIQ 3, a lot of time would have passed and maybe you're mentally tired. So this is where you've got to be very, very careful in the way you answer, make your answers. Once you finish with this, then there may be certain questions on general awareness, current affairs, etc. General awareness could be anything about your country, about your state, geography, history, or your neighboring countries. In current affairs, you may be asked about the national, important national events, important international events, etc. Just to see where you stand and how is your general awareness and what's your level of information that you have. And finally, you may be asked to talk about your strengths and weaknesses. So you have to then give out what are your strengths and what are the parts of what are the things of your personality which you would like to improve upon. And of course, if you have got any weaknesses, then you must also try and bring out as to what are you doing to take care of those weaknesses. Now, having said this, now I will tell you as to how to answer all these questions. So as far as the CIQ 1 is concerned, which is the longest and possibly the most important, it's a factual CIQ where facts are asked. So please tell whatever is there in the correct manner. Do not hide anything. Be absolutely frank and forthright, because if you hide here, you'll get caught somewhere else, and that will not be in your interest. As far as your second CIQ or about your family is concerned, again, be very, very, very open and do not try to hide anything here as well. Be very frank. But the only thing which I would like to caution you about is that whenever a question is asked to you in whichever CIQ, please listen to the question very carefully. Because it is quite possible that the interviewing officer may change some of the questions in the CIQ, and if you're prepared, then you may give the wrong answer. So be very careful about what is being asked. And when the questions are being asked, just listen to the question, not start thinking of how you will answer them. So listen to the question carefully and then take your time to respond. And as I said earlier, please tell everything the way it is, actual facts. Do not hide anything. Do not try to put a mask on your personality, because it will get unmasked. And a special caution for those candidates who've gone through SSB guidance or coaching. While coaching is good, guidance is good, it does benefit you, it makes you aware of the entire procedure. But if you go with pre-prepared answers, and if you have preconceived notions as to how to respond to a particular query, then you may go wrong. It is better to answer the way the questions are asked to you, and as per the situation demands. So be flexible. And that is what my advice to you would be as far as answering the questions in the SSB are concerned. So once again, I would emphasize on this point: do not hide anything. Do not try to mask your personality, because you will get unmasked, and that will not be good for you as far as your chances of recommendation in the SSB are concerned. Now, having said this, I would now also recommend to you that if you want to further develop your personality and if you want to further learn and get groomed, then you can join us in our Ayaansh Leadership Academy. We will provide you with all the wherewithal which is required to get recommended in SSB. We have the best of infrastructure, the best of faculty, all the 3 assessors which are required, like the interviewing officer, the GTO, as well as the psychologist. We have all of them, and also we've got our own exclusive GTO ground, which is not available with most of the leadership academies. So I would invite you to have a look at our academy, visit our website, and join us. We will provide you the best environment and best atmosphere to, again, I would say, realize your dream of joining the Indian Armed Forces as an officer. If you like this video, you can like it and subscribe to it. As also, in my next video, I'm going to talk to you about the common mistakes which candidates make in an SSB interview. So you wait for that, and that video will be coming soon. So once again, all the best to you. Jai Hind.